Well, to help us break down, this stories and incidents, I'm joined now by Dr. Olajumoke Ayandele, African security expert and clinical professor of practice at New York University Center for Global Affairs. Glad to have you join us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on your platform.
Wonderful. What does this mean for Nigeria-U.S. relations, especially as it concerns insecurity? The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been speaking. It said the collaboration involves intelligence sharing and strategic coordination in line with international law and Nigerian sovereignty.
Yes, I think what the Nigerian government is signaling here is very important. Washington's role is being framed as a counterterrorism support, not necessarily unilateral intervention. So with Foreign Minister Yusuf Tuga, he has claimed and with his statements that this is a joint operation with Nigeria providing the intelligence and the US, offering precision air support. And this distinction matters because it speaks directly to what it means for the sovereignty of Nigeria. And I would say Nigeria has been very clear on no foreign boots on its ground. What it accepts is strategic support, which is what we are seeing, whether that is air power, training, intelligence sharing, especially in this era that we are in of hybrid warfare, where terrorist groups are mobile, networked, and adaptive. So while when it comes to US involvement, this always raises sensitivities and suspicion, I do believe that this operation fits within Nigeria's long-standing preference for partnership that reinforces rather than replaces its military capacity.
You're watching Jabo Dambuwal local government area of Sokoto State, where it said that the U.S. in collaboration with Nigeria hit, but the talk is that Jabo is a relatively peaceful community with no cases of bandit attacks. What's your sense of that, really?
Yes, I do believe that the intelligence gathering has shown that Lakurawa, which is an offshoot of ISIS Sahel, has been operating within that area. And as I said, the Nigerian government did provide that intelligence for the precision attacks. So while there might not necessarily be any banditry operations, there might have been, and given this intelligence report, there was activity of these ISIS and IS Sahel groups gathering around this area where this precision attacks occurred. Unfortunately or fortunately, we haven't necessarily heard of any civilian casualties as of yet, but as you know, this is an active operation and we are yet to hear everything that needs and is concerned with this operation so far.
Still on Jabo, is it possible that intelligent report, following from the reports we're getting, was not accurate?
I don't necessarily believe so. Nobody would do precision airstrikes on a environment that wasn't necessarily accurate. The intelligence was correct.
Can this go in solving the problems of the increasing insecurity in the country?
Well, as you know, international intervention can be practical, effective when it comes to short term. So yes, with these precision attacks that we saw yesterday, that can help to disrupt the leadership or degrade the capabilities and buy time for the Nigerian military, but it's not a solution on its own. As we've been discussing with African security scholars, long-term security in Nigeria is going to depend on local governance, increased state presence, especially in these rural areas, and economic opportunities. And most important, I will argue, increasing the trust between civilians and security forces. And I would say without these factors, military gains that we see, whether that by Nigeria or international partners, these gains would not hold. External partners can support us, but ultimately stability has to come from within us in Nigeria.
U.S. keeps harping on the reasons they did this, that it is for Christian killings to cease, that is to stop. How does that resonate with you? Every Nigerian life should matter, and it's not just only Christians that are being killed.
Yes, it resonates me because I believe that this narrative is overly simplistic and it can frankly be misleading. Violence, as we know, in whether it is the Northwest or the North Central or the Northeast, has affected both Christians and Muslims, and this violence is indiscriminate. So when we frame this as the protection of one religious community versus another, this is going to risk obscuring the reality that this is fundamentally what we are trying to conduct is a counterterrorism operation, not necessarily a religious one. And I would say the Nigerian government has been very explicit on this point, and we need to give them kudos that whatever counterterrorism operations that is being conducted or deployed is about protecting civilians and innocent lives, regardless of their faith.
Well, the president of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, says he's committed to protecting members of all faith. It doesn't matter which faith, even the member, whether it's Muslim, Christian, or the faiths that are not of this particular two. How much weight does this statement carry, and what does it really mean in the light of these killings, even the recent bombing in a mosque?
Mhm. It does carry some weight, I believe. And again, I'm sure with your reporters, you've seen that there is mixed reaction on the streets about this precision airstrikes. I do believe that the government has to show a little bit more, not necessarily aggressiveness, but a little bit give a helping hand and show that they are willing to talk to both Christians and Muslim communities. And I would say any international involvement would depend on how the Nigerian government continues to assess the evolving threat environment in northern Nigeria. And this is going to determine how and what support it needs. Again, with this particular partnership and airstrikes, we've seen that this is not necessarily from both statements and both administrations, that this is not a one-off, but it's not necessarily being framed as an open-ended campaign. So I would argue what we are most likely to see is something that is selective, or corporations that are selective, intelligence-driven, and sustained. And I do believe that with President Tinubu's remarks, that might show Nigerians that we are serious about countering and addressing this terrorism threat.
Riley Moore, a representative of the USA, was here some time ago in Nigeria to liaise with the government. This was a statement. I quote him: President Trump has been clear that the killing of Christians must end. Tonight's strike, that was of course yesterday, in coordination with the Nigerian government, is just a first step to ending the slaughter of Christians. Again, that word comes up, and the security crisis affecting all Nigerians. What do you make of Riley Moore's statement?
I do make of it as, again, foreign policy being driven by domestic policy in the United States. And again, with Nigeria, we also have to think about foreign policy and how we project ourselves as a nation to other countries. Again, any future strikes or any partnerships will most certainly follow the model that we saw yesterday. But this is not to say that there are foreign troops on Nigerian soil. This is more partnership, and it is more strategic today, given, as I said, the hybrid nature of warfare that we see today. We have to get cooperation and partnership, whether that is, new training, whether that is air precision attacks. So again, yes, the US has its own motivations, but with the statements that have come out from the Nigerian government, I think it's very, very necessary for us to balance both.
Right. Thank you so much for being on the program, Dr. Olajumoke Ayandele. I hope I got that name correct. African security expert and clinical professor of practice at New York University Center for Global Affairs. Thank you for being on the program.